All right, guys, welcome to the Masters in Motion podcast. I'm Jason Grubb. I'm here with Rick Stevenson, and it's another week in CrossFit, and we're here to talk about it.
Here we are. The week's starting, even though it's Tuesday. Happy Memorial Day to everybody. Hope everybody was able to remember what the holiday means and celebrate with family and friends, and maybe do Murph.
How was? I know you did.
Yeah,
I know you did.
I did.
How?
I did.
How was it? How did you? What was your version of Murph this year?
No vest, partitioned. Only because I wanted to train the rest of the week, and I know how my body feels, with vest and unpartitioned. I mean, it's completely wrecked. You and I have been at this long enough. We've done multiple versions of it, every which way. It just depends what hits you that day, I think. I was just fortunate to do it. We had a great turnout. Good rained the first mile, and the sun was out the second mile for us. And it was good. I did see Dan Bailey. I haven't watched the YouTube yet. Was it GoRuck or Rogue? Put him up to 100 pounds on his body to do it.
Yes. Was it 100 pounds on his body? It was 100 pounds on his body, including a vest
plate
and a backpack
and a ruck. Yeah. I just flashed by it last night. I was like, I don't have time, but I have to watch this.
I saw
that poor guy.
I saw a reel on it, and it's over 2 hours.
Oh,
and he's done some things like that in the past. Wasn't he the one that did? What was the name of the what's the name of the workout where you do a bench press,
Linda?
Linda. It's Linda. Yeah. Bench press, squat clean, and deadlift. And it's normally 10 to 1.
Right.
And him and Jason Khalipa, they did 20 to 1.
Oh, my God.
And I remember, this was early in my CrossFit life, and I remember thinking, I would love to do that someday. And now that I'm a more mature and 48-year-old athlete, I'm never
should not be doing that.
No.
Doing Linda is fine. But
dude, Linda's great. But like 20, like what was it? Iron Linda or whatever they had some sort of name for it. But Dan Bailey doing that with 100 pounds on his body, I'm trying to imagine what those pull-ups had to feel like, or push-ups, for goodness sakes. I mean, imagine doing 200 weighted push-ups. I know that last year I did Murph after a training session in Amarillo, Texas. We were still on the road. Mm-hmm. It was blazing hot, and I was still going to get that workout in. And I did it unpartitioned just to be ready. You just never know when CrossFit's going to throw that to us at the game. So it was part of my CrossFit Games training.
Mm-hmm. Sure. And
it destroyed me unpartitioned. I mean, I'm doing sets of 2 on the push-ups for the last 100, probably 50 sets of 2. My knees hurt because of the amount of time I was spending on my knees, shaking out my arms with a weight vest on. Right. And then the squats got me down to sets of 5 towards the end. I think I legitimately did not have nearly enough fuel. I should have eaten an entire meal post-training session and then gone right into the workout. But you live and learn, and
it is refreshing. It can be done. It should be done, I think, with the community if you have that opportunity. It does. It's I don't know. I'm speaking for myself. That is one workout I'm never racing. Don't care about my time. I do look at the clock when I'm done just to make note of it. I don't care when I finish or how I finish. I do the reps. I put the work in. You put your head down and you get done. One other odd Bailey thing was you're speaking old CrossFit days. When he was back at HQ, there's a video out there of him doing a bunch of the girl wads in a row against a team of 4, which were like a couple the Buttery Bros when they still worked for CrossFit, maybe Rory McKernan or something. It was like 4 on 1, and everybody had the same 4 workouts to do. Only he did them one after another, trying to beat the 4 of them fresh. It was crazy. I don't know how he gets talked into that stuff, but he's still walking.
He's a sucker for it.
Yeah,
and he's the kind of guy. Imagine if when I watch his video, I'm certainly going to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I do love videos like that. He's the kind of guy that drools all over the place when he gets really tired.
Yes.
I just imagine there's going to be a lot of spittle in a video like that, just dripping. And anytime I ever am in a workout where I'm just pouring sweat and I'm I'm blowing out as I'm doing a push jerk or something, and you can viscerally see it.
Yeah.
I think about Dan Bailey because he's just that guy. He's just dripping everywhere.
Somebody send this tip. This did not turn out to be. Jason and I have a plan for tonight. It was not to talk about Dan the entire
to talk
time,
about that.
but you're putting a body, body weight, or not body weight, but a vest on, 20 pounds, 14 pounds for a lady. You're putting that on. That's a hard workout to do. It's supposed to be. But then I just saw that clip of his, which takes it to a whole nother level. So enjoy.
New levels of ridiculousness unlocked by Dan Bailey. And that, again, I think I missed some of that old content. I loved it when, it was Rich Froning and Matt Frazier doing some clean and jerk ladder at HQ. I remember there was a video like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or those old videos where Dan Bailey would do the workout of the day or something. That was some really, really fun content. It's still fun to go back and watch that stuff. It was
still find it. It's not being not being made right now.
No, I would vote for like that. That would be really fun. But moving on, what we did get to watch this weekend, or this past 2 weekends, we got to watch semifinals in all over the world, and then the West Coast, of course, this past week included. And this week is the final weekend of the individual semifinals. I'm going to head out to Knoxville. So if anybody's going to Knoxville, I'll be out there Saturday and Sunday. I'm super excited to go and visit. It's like a 4-hour drive. And so it just makes sense to go.
Oh, yeah.
No, not bad. I mean, I would encourage you to come down. If you want to come down, I am pretty sure I have a king bed. So you got to sleep on the floor. But if you want to come, I got a room for you. Yes.
Oh, boy, is that going to start some rumors. Masters Chatter, are you listening? No. I had thought about it, actually. I was talking to somebody about it. It'd be a great experience to go down and see. I have not been to a regional, if you will, since the old Central East, back in the day when it was just a couple hours down the road. But I have a college visit on Monday with my youngest. So
that's important
I just
stuff.
knew that. Yeah, I just knew that wasn't going to work for that time. So I'm doing a 4-hour round trip out east to Penn State. So that's fun. That's the reason. Yeah, we're trying that.
Well, it'll be my first time headed out there to any regional or semifinal. So I'm excited to catch that vibe. And
you have a good one. There's a lot of pipe hitters in both men's and women's.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
And I will be representing Masters in Motion as a press, person out there. Okay. So we'll see what kind of vantage point, and if there's anything that I can bring back to our show, of course, next week. That'll be really fun. But what have been some of the things you've noticed over the past couple of weeks? What we've seen so far? There's lots of things we can talk about here, but what comes to mind for you first?
I'd say the highs right now, the excitement from the crowd in certain, the French Throwdown 2 weeks ago. There were some great races both on the men's and women's side, and I'm really not talking teams because I haven't watched a lot of team events. I did catch the finals, the French Throwdown for the team, but the crowds there, the crowds down under in the Torian Pro, they always it's not the deepest field. We know that just by the number of athletes, and Bailey Martin, Jay Crouch, and Ricky Garrard. It was like they just swapped taking first, second, and third basically the whole weekend. But those races were exciting. And if you have a chance to go back and the event 4, the handstand walk row.
Oh, that was amazing.
Fantastic between those guys. Yep. Just those three really excelled. But my takeaway is that the crowds, they were really into it. Europe and down under, fantastic. The flip side was, where was the crowd? And I think it's all over social media. People are talking about, where's the crowd in Carson? Because that iconic venue that we were so excited to see. I mean,
it was crazy.
Empty stands.
Like, how could it be that empty? I mean, there were more volunteers there than people in stands. Like, I would have thought that even with the amount of athletes that were there would be, even 3 or 4 family members or family and friends for every athlete. I guess it's not that many, but you just imagine that it would just be at least half full or something. And there was, towards the finish line, I noticed that the crowd was thicker,
deeper,
was a little more dense, deeper. But boy, the optics did not look good.
It looked like the
that
2010 games. That first Friday night event where they did Amanda, one event first night under lights, and there were just a smattering of fans around the ring, and you kind of wonder, like, what are we looking at?
And that was one of the best. That was one of the funnest things, watching Jason Cleveland just chasing a barbell across the
place.
I mean, that was classic good
Men and
stuff
women
to watch,
failing one ring muscle up at a time. You're like, wow. Well, of course, we didn't have muscle ups ourselves back then, so it's a completely different.
No.
Yeah, so I was a little disappointed there, but I think we know the reason. You and I touched on it. CrossFit, despite it being in an iconic place, gets lost in the sea of what is a very big metro area in Los Angeles, greater Los Angeles area. It's just hard. It's hard to pull in people. It's Memorial Day weekend too. That was another point made.
Yeah,
tough there.
And it is this. It's this small event happening in this gargantuan city with many things happening at one time.
Yep.
And I think even like if I lived in San Diego, I think I got to think about what it would take to get to go watch that, the effort it would take to get there. Or if you live, if you just live 2 hours away, it's still not just a 2-hour drive. It's not in Alabama. It's not like driving over to Huntsville or Chattanooga. These are nice, pleasant drives. You're terrible traffic.
Yep.
Yeah, just terrible, which is just a bummer. So, I don't know if there's anything that they need to do about that to address it. But it was just, it makes me think about, the conversation that we had. I think it was with Bob on our podcast, going back to why Birmingham, when it was announced that the CrossFit Games for Masters was going to be in Birmingham, and it was, he mentioned that it came down to Birmingham, Orlando, maybe one other site, but in Orlando, the Masters CrossFit Games is just this teeny little thing in a city that has dozens of things happening on that particular weekend.
And in a city that's very good at holding conventions and things. It's going to be huge. It's almost like Vegas. I mean, it knows what it's doing, and it's prepared, and you're just one of a number.
Just one of a number. And then you have Birmingham, where they're, arms open. Please, we would love to have you here. The city is like that, and the city was prepared to have the CrossFit Games here years ago. So, that makes for a bigger splash in an area that's like hungry for an event like that. And I think California is not. But again, if we think about this weekend, I'm curious to see what the numbers look like in Knoxville. I know it's not sold out, but I can imagine that just given the density of athletes that are there, is going to be, you should draw a pretty big crowd, as well as, there's not an amazing proximity to lots of places, but it's not that hard to get to, So the perfect spot would be, one of my friends is like, why don't they have it in the Northeast where everything's an hour or two away?
Yeah.
Like
train, car.
That would be,
Boom.
But again, Knoxville they've done it there before, and it's done fairly well, and I'm excited to go see it.
And all's not lost though, because remember, the games themselves in Fort Worth are sold out. It's a relatively new arena. I know HQ is excited about that opportunity to showcase the sport. I'm assuming the good coverage will be there too. That's the other thing. Whether it's ESPN Plus or CBS,
I'm sure they will,
or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean that'll be, those are eyes on it. So you can't say all is lost, but it was just very disappointing to look into that tennis stadium and go, because those were good events too. I mean, who did not like seeing Colton Mertens do a touch and go?
Are you kidding me?
265 to win the event. I mean,
right?
Those were some really shorter events that required great high execution under pressure, no mistake. You missed a snatch, you were thrown back. You don't complete a handstand walk unbroken, you're already buried. And that last event with those double 100 pounds, 70 pounds for the ladies, walking lunges, you one misstep, it's not just step back, it's go all the way back to the next section, and you're already getting, you could see people just bearing down on you or lapping you. So the events, the way they're laid out, very, I think, well from a viewership standpoint. They just weren't in the stands. We were all watching online.
and online was great. I'm watching online, and I was able to get excited, even though I was watching all of them in a delay. I'm never watching them live,
Sure.
so I can skip forward, and I'm catching up late on a Sunday night on Memorial Day weekend to make sure that I'm trying not to look at social media, so that I like surprises. I'd like to see who actually made it.
Right.
Some highlights for me, given the action and being able to watch those events, because you mentioned a lot of the races, and I think they were fun ways to execute events, because they all had they had a nice race to them. And sometimes CrossFit events aren't that entertaining, but these were all fairly entertaining. I even think that the first one, although I want to say it was a little boring to watch people run 800 meters.
100 meters.
But so I would just skip forward through every time the run was happening. But you get them in there and just be like, okay, how are they going to approach these clean and jerks? And, is James Sprague going to hold on this far ahead? Is Ricky Gerard, is he just going to slow down? Like, he was insanely ahead on that one. Watching some of the people when it did come down to some touch and go races on that event was really, really entertaining. Another highlight for me was watching the speed at which these guys and gals in particular were handstand walking. It wasn't about going unbroken. It was about running, like going so fast on your hands. Yes. It makes me think like, okay, so even in the Masters world, the game has been upgraded. It's not just, hey, can you go 50 feet unbroken? Because that's pretty impressive. That's not it anymore. Everyone, like at the games last year, we had an event that had some handstand walking. I was like, okay, I'm going to get ahead on the handstand walk. No, everyone went unbroken on the handstand walks. There's no getting ahead by going unbroken.
You have to go faster.
Yeah.
You have to go faster.
Yeah, we got work to do, Rick. I
know. I think about that now when I kick up. It's that, that momentum. I was impressed when they would race across on their hands, but then that first segment where they had to turn around and come back, the turnarounds are so clean now. You just turn around and drop right back into that position. You being there this weekend, I think you're going to have the best between Danielle Brandon and Brooke Wells. If they're in the same heat together, those two, I bet you they will walk faster on their hands and you could power walk back the other direction.
Right. Like probably the judges walking backwards have to be
correct.
Just worried about are they in jeopardy of running into the cameraman behind them, because they have to track with them so fast.
Yeah.
So that's pretty wild. How about Olivia? Kerstetter?
Yep.
How about her snatch ladder?
She just wait a minute. I have it in here. 358. I want to say, or something like that.
I'm not sure that I could do Isabel. I mean, that's like I could do Isabel faster than that, but with one weight that's a baby weight compared to anything that they did. She was so fast. As you look it up, that I just remember watching the next heat. 358. That's so ridiculous. You got like Danny Spiegel, who can move a barbell, and her heat. There were a number of women that were moving pretty fast, but in particular, she was moving fast, and she got to the second to last barbell. So she has 6 total reps left, and Olivia's done. She's already done in an ice barrel somewhere, chilling out. Like, she was so done with the event, even though she was in one of the much earlier heats.
In a short event, she won it by 1 minute and 1 second.
It's crazy.
She was 1 minute 1 faster than second place.
I mean, Ricky, do you remember when they did this event? Maybe they did this event in the games or whatever year it was that they did something like this. And Pat Sherwood in the documentary said, you can't go that fast. Like, there's not a man that can go this fast. Like, I can't. He was like, I bet you, I'll put money on the line. Remember when he called that out? Like, he said, and you can't either. Go that fast, because Cara Webb was going. I think it was a clean ladder, actually, but she went so fast, and Pat Sherwood just made this amazing comment in the documentary where you're just like, he threw out a gauntlet, and then there was a man that tried to beat her barefoot or some crazy thing like that. Back in the olden times, that keeps coming up.
I tell you, we need more Pat Sherwood on these.
Oh my gosh,
pre-game or post-game wrap-up shows or things like that.
Yes,
because that's where he has time to think about a comment, I think, or evaluate a performance. Not live play-by-play like Sean Woodland, but
correct.
Let him think about it for a little bit, and then you're going to get 2 or 3 gems per show. So
yes,
I didn't see. Olivia's performance, though. I know I can rewind and go back and see it, but I saw that time posted. I was like, is that a mistake? Is that right? Because everybody else is in the 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. You know, I mean, those are top 20s are inside of 9 minutes.
Right.
I think it was an 11-minute cap.
They had it's funny because they had the caps. You had to get past a certain barbell within time gates. So some time gates, people were running into some time gates here and there. But I think in total it might have been 11 or 13, somewhere in that range. Either way, that barbell's heavy, and like you said, watching Colton Mertens at the end bobble a touch and go and still hit it was crazy to watch. Like, there's no way anyone should catch that snatch after it kind of got caught up on his leg on the way down, and he katoinked it on the ground. He didn't. I don't think the barbell even hit the ground at the same time. It was just.
It's all over the internet.
Oh my god! And then he hits it. Like, he's truly remarkable, and it was. I'll tell you, it was heartbreaking. I know he knew what he needed to do to make it to the games. He was on the line,
right?
And it was a machine heavy day, or the last couple of days were pretty machine heavy, and he's a smaller athlete, so the machines aren't favoring him. But he holds his own. Tall box jumps don't favor him, but he figures it out. But on that one, he's got to do a lot of lunge steps compared to anyone who's 6 feet tall. But when all he had to do was finish the lunge steps, and they slipped. During the last segment, they slipped. He had to pull them back, and it was just crushing because I think he knew.
See the spirit just getting sucked out. Yeah, I know. At that point, there's no scrambling.
No, it is. He knew. You know when you go into those last events, when something's on the line like that, you know who you've got to beat. You've done all that math, you've done all that work, and then you get there and it just slips by you in an event that, like you said earlier, just holy cow, how gross that was. And because there was so much on the line, typically heading into that event, you had guys and gals that were taking some huge risks. So in the let's see, it was the West Coast final. There was, his name's Brandon. He does the EMOM. I don't remember his last name, but he's the EMOM and Co guy. Oh, but
Brandon Luckett.
Yeah, Brandon Luckett. Yeah. So I'm watching him, and he's going on that event. It's an echo bike into 15 ring muscle ups into those walking lunges with 100-pound dumbbells at their side, and I'm watching him go ham on the echo bike, thinking to myself, he's making a huge mistake. There's no way he's going to make it. And I lean over, I tell Gina, my wife, I'm like, no way. There's no way. And he gets up on the rings, and he's doing the ring muscle ups. They look really good. They look really, smooth, and they cut away. And I'm like, dude, he's going to break. And he's just going to, there's no way. Yeah. They come back to him, and the judge's hand is up, and he's like 3, 2, 1, and he done. I'm like, oh my God. I can't believe that he went ham on the echo bike, got through the 15 unbroken. A lot of people broke those up, but he got through that. I hung onto those dumbbells. I think he set them down once or twice, but had done just enough to get across the line. And he knew it too. He too knew what he needed to do, but it was efforts like that blew me away. Like seeing someone ride the line. I mean, you know how to do this. You did it at the games in 2021 when we had a workout that opened with you hitting 15 ring muscle ups. And there's a gamble to that, right? Because if you miss your 14th rep, you're cooked.
30, 45 seconds, minute, something like that. Yeah. And I think you explained it with Colton, dropped. That was 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right there.
He went until the absolute, and that was it. As soon as it slipped, but he had run out. His energy, he was done. His grip was done. Such a bummer.
But he was taking a calculated bet where he probably could have set them down with 2 segments to go.
Right. Yes.
Look around, shake out the hands, pick it up. But again, he's there and he the battle. Every athlete knows themselves probably at that level a lot better. I'm not going to say you, but they know themselves better than me. Yeah. Than I know myself. That's what they're there for. Especially somebody like the professor. I mean, you read his Instagram post. He executed damn near exactly the way he wanted to the entire weekend. And the results bear it out. And that brings me to my point is that the consistency, like of Justin Medeiros, never winning an event, but winning the overall. I texted you that last night. I know we had a little back and forth about it. The consistency, no finish outside of the top 10 was enough points to accumulate to win the event. Whereas Olivia and Colton, and I'll butcher his name. I'm so sorry, but Oldus Upanikas. I hate saying that name, but that guy out of Europe, games athlete multiple times, won 2 events, didn't qualify either. You can't, with only 6 events, it's very hard to take a latter half of the field finish, despite having a first place or 2 first places, and accumulating enough points to slide inside the cut line.
I mean, it's the truth. It's the truth. And Justin Medeiros won the games in his first games without winning 21. An event.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And people were like,
I'll tell you,
you don't always have to have that home run potential to do it. And we got very accustomed to Frazier and Tia just beating people's heads in event win after event win. You're like, well, no wonder they're up by a ridiculous margin going in the last 2 events or something like that. But you don't have to do that.
When I went to my first trip to the games in 2018, I had a lot of top 5 finishes, all top 5, except for 2, where I had a 16th and an 18th or 17th and 19th or something. And those were heavy lifting, Olympic lifting events. Right. And I just got crushed in those. And I just think back to that time, if I would have had even top 10 finishes in those 2 events, I'm second place maybe, or I'm very close, if not, in my first year. But it took a couple of years of shoring up some of those weaknesses to ensure that, really being towards the top. And for us, I know, just applying that to the Masters games with a larger field, a deeper field, you don't have to win every event. When there's 10 people in your age group, you have to win almost every event, because it's, the top 3 are just the top 3 in all these events. But when you've got a deeper field, it's going to be a lot more random. There's going to be a lot more specialists at certain events to make it really interesting. And it's going to look a lot more like our semifinal leaderboard, where you've got this deep field, right? But not a bunch of number ones to win. It's just a consistent effort will get you to the top in those. And that's always, it's always very interesting. And Justin Medeiros, as far as like camera time, it's really funny when you have semifinals, because it's the camera crew hasn't really decided to follow a storyline, so it's just all over the place. It's kind of whoever's in first, and like, hey, Justin Medeiros is competing. Like, isn't Pat Vellner in this thing? Oh yeah, there's Pat. He's over there in the back. He's back over there.
You see him cross the finish line in the background of a shot of where they're focusing or something like that.
Yes.
But there they are. By the end of the weekend, they've accumulated. I mean, I guarantee you, right? I bet you Justin wasn't featured a lot of camera time because he didn't win an event, and they might have talked about him beforehand, or they focused on him at the start. But then suddenly, lo and behold, there's enough points. You can accumulate. So we'll see if that plays out in your semifinal this week that you're going to. Because
it will be interesting. There's how many athletes do you know what the cut line is in the East for men and women? I don't know it off the top of my head.
Either. It has been different. It was deep in Europe. They got 10 for the men.
Yeah.
Or did they get 11? Shoot, there we go. And West only got 9.
8 and 9. I can't remember men and women. I think
9.
Yeah.
And then what was the surprise was down in Torian Pro, they got 4. So you knew those 3 were, save for an injury, were going to get in. It was who was that 4th. So that strength of field, I know, and I'm not even going to attempt to understand that, but that took one away from one of the other regions and slides it into down there Torian Pro.
Sure.
So
sure.
You're going to have some races for that 8, 9, 10, 11 spots, wherever the cut line is.
Yeah. And that makes the fun story. And I know that's what they end up covering. They cover who's winning the event, but then they're also kind of covering where that line, particularly on day 2 and 3, they start covering the boundary line, which makes for interesting and fun TV or fun entertainment. We are watching this stuff because we're fans of the sport, and it is entertainment. And all my other YouTube shows can just take a back seat. I've got some stuff to catch up on now because I spent the weekend watching CrossFit, and that is why we love coverage. We love coverage because we love to watch this stuff. And speaking of, you were talking about 6 events going into how much one bad event can mess up the semifinals for the individuals. Well, we only had 4 events in ours.
Oh.
And so, man, you had to be consistent. You could not have a bad event or you'd be so at risk. With that in mind, our leaderboard, I've been told, is finalized. And according to the plan, it was to be finalized today. I did get a confirmation that the leaderboard is finalized. And so we should, according to the schedule, be receiving games invites tomorrow.
Correct.
Which, if you get that, I don't know if you remember clearly the first time you received your game invite email, but that's a pretty special email to receive. If that's one you could print off and put on the wall, that's a good one, right?
Just ask my coworkers. I'm one of the worst offenders. I'm a tree killer. I'm sorry, I'm going to offend people. I print everything I can.
Yes.
That email is printed and saved. You can bet that. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's something. So we thought we would take just a second to go over our leaderboards since they've been finalized and just recognize we would love on our podcast to share the names of the top 40 men and women in the age groups that have 40 and the 30s and the 20s as we move all the way up. But we decided it would feel like a graduation ceremony. So while we want to recognize every single athlete that has worked their asses off over the past year and punched themselves a ticket, we would love to do that. We are going to recognize the top 5 from each because that's just makes more sense for us here.
And with the caveat being, we don't know who's accepting because you do have a period of time to accept your invitation. And in the rule book, it does talk about backfilling, I believe, up to 3 spots, depending on your age group. You're going to have to check me on that. So there will be some shuffling. And by evidence of me butchering some names and probably you butchering some names, there's a lot of folks that would be having to travel a very long distance if the little flags next to the names are correct. So there's a lot that goes into, say number 3 in this age group. They might not show up. They might not accept. And that's that. But at least we're at this stage now.
Yes, it's been a long journey, and we're at the stage where it looks like these will be the invites. And then again, I think it'll be really interesting. Like you said, it'll be interesting with acceptance happening, backfills happening. I know that there's some people that are just shy of the qualifying spot that would jump at a backfill position just to get a chance to get out there on the floor and show what they can do in person. I know that for myself, I am much better in person than I am in a virtual competition. So I know there's a lot of athletes out there that would love to be able to demonstrate what they can do on the competition floor when they can see what everyone else is doing. It's such a big deal. But Rick, would you like to start with? Do you have an age group pulled up on your screen?
I do. I have the 35 to 39-year-old men.
Cool.
And we were just talking about it. We'll have to check the rosters, but Will Morad, we believe he is competing this weekend at North America East. So, but he was first place finisher. Chase Smith, who just competed last weekend out west. Sergey Kreis, Gary Jones, and Ivan Verdun. So there are your top 5 men. Some incredible times, believe me.
I mean, looking at their scores, it's really fun to see, especially since quite a few of those workouts, we did the same thing at 48
same
and
weight.
You at
exactly.
same weight that they did. Really remarkable.
Event 4 is what's sticking out. I'm like, did he really do that in sub 2 or sub 3?
Yeah.
Sub 3?
Yeah. Well, let's take a look at the women. And here's some names that are, again, we're just going to say with the caveat, and the last thing we'll say is we're going to butcher these names and we apologize. But 35 to 39 women, we've got Emilia Lepanen, and Tammy Gyorkos, Angelica Bengston,
yeah.
M. Day Gooch, Lacey Truelove, Well, that's a fun one. I mean, that's just a
Yeah.
great last name.
Canadian.
So one
All
American
right.
among those, but if we just take a look at the top 8 in the female 35 to 39, it's international with one American flag there. The rest is international, which is super cool. I love to see the international flair there. But again, top spot, Amelia, she did event 4 in 2:32. That's 30 cleans, 30 toes to bar, 30 thrusters in 2 minutes and 32 seconds. She beat me by a minute. A minute. What does that look like?
It's similar to an Olivia Kerstetter just hammering the field like that. That's such a margin. Oh, that's good.
It's insane. It's truly insane.
That's traveling the 5 feet from the bar to the rig back to the bar. So that's 2 transitions there. I don't want to get hung up on that, but would she have gone touch and go on her cleans?
Oh, 100%.
Touch and glow,
she did
unbroken.
She was unbroken on everything.
Unbroken thrusters. That's great.
I think she held her breath the whole time. I'm pretty sure she could hold her breath for 2 minutes and 32 seconds while doing this. So
fantastic.
Wild.
Men 40 to 44. Julian Cerna, Rudy Berger, name that we all know, came in second. Louis McMaster and James, two more. James St. Leger and Dustin McWilliams. So 2 American flags there in the top 5. Again, hats off to those gentlemen. And again, I know Rudy likes to compete in person. So take your ticket and get ready.
He's got back-to-back wins, or does he have 2 wins or 3 wins historically? 2. Do you know off the top of your head?
2, I believe. Yes.
Solid dude. The women 40 to 44. We have the top 3 are international, followed by 2 Americans. We've got Andrea Pinheiro. Wow, that's a good one.
Wow.
We've got Alethea Boone, which is a familiar name.
She just competed down south.
Yeah. She did down south.
She competed at Torian Pro.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. So fun when we get to see that. I mean, she's a 40-plus athlete competing with those athletes down there. Amazing. Elia Navarro she had 45 points. Kelly Jackson Essig and Carly Newlands rounding out the top 5 there. Again, a crazy fast scores on all of these. Just even taking a look at Alethea Boone, event 4, since that's just kind of the marker that we're saying. So event, she took second place. I just happened to see on the leaderboard. Alethea Boone second place with 2:42 on that, and that was second. That didn't win it. She had to have dropped that bar and thought, like, there's no way anyone in the world is touching this. And someone else,
I can't believe that,
somewhere on the leaderboard, got first. Again, it's funny, I don't see first place in the top 50 on that. So it must be someone who is very is an anomaly in the sense that, interesting. 239 was the 35th place. 239, 35th place got.
We missed that.
So it is a qualifier, but
because that age group gets 40 positions.
Yes,
that age
correct.
Group. Okay, all right. We will switch it, so I certainly want to let you read off the men too, but I can't let you read the male 45 to 49. I'm going to have to take that one from you.
Go ahead, take it.
Kane Hayes, Jason Grubb, Robbie McCord, David Johnston, and Nuna Costa. Actually, Robbie Perovich tied. The 2 of them tied with 58 points each. So congratulations, sir. There, 43 points accumulated. Again, solid finishes, and we know how deep this age group is. Solid finishes for those top 6 gentlemen to the 2 that tied. You really don't see many finishes. One 30th place finish.
Sure.
No, and a 43rd. 43rd was the highest finish out of those 6 men. And so it was
in any event.
Yeah, in any event. That's impressive. And a lot of games history there among those names that I just read.
I will tell you a fun fact. 2019, I was 43, and now I'm 48. Okay, so that was the year where they only allowed. It was the first time they cut the field down to 10 for our age group, right? And I will say that in the top 10 qualified this year, Kane Hayes was there in 2019. I was there. Nuna Costa was there. Robbie Perovich was there. And Christopher Anderson was there. And Richard Vint was there. So crazy that, let's see, that's 1, 2,
Out of the
3,
top 10,
4,
yeah.
5, 6, 7 out of 10 that
That were
qualified
there
for
in
the games in
2019.
2019 are in the top 10 qualifying this year. So talk about consistency, really. And
Mhm.
David Johnston, something happened that year. I'm sure David will reach out and tell me, but he was a contender very much. He was there in 2018, was very much a contender in 2019, but something happened and I can't remember what it was. But wow, to think about, and that was me every time I saw the qualifiers for quarterfinals and semifinals for my age group. I'm like, these guys are back, and these
Here
are
we go
tough
again.
competitors.
Yep.
So here we go again. For the women, we've got number 1, Deanna Posey, then Gabriela Azevedo, Val
Voboril.
That's I'm
Val
gonna say that one.
Voboril. Yeah.
You know that
She's
one?
back.
You know that name?
She's back. Oh, multi-time
Okay. Oh, you know
games
the name.
competitor
Good.
on the individual side. Yeah, absolutely. But she's dipping her toe into the age groups.
Very cool. We've got in 4th Sarah Kieraz and Kim Mullings in 5th. Again, just amazing athletes. It's so fun to see multiple games competitors like Val that are now coming and now in the 45 to 49-year-old age group. Very cool.
Yeah, five or six games appearances for her going way back. I looked it up, like 2009 type of experience there.
I will say in the 45 women's, I will say Kelly Friel is coming back. She is coming back. She did qualify in 23rd. She is a multiple games champion. So although she's not in that top 5, I mean she's coming. I'll take the 50-year-old men.
There you go. Let's flip it.
I think I know some of these guys.
Yes.
Some of these guys. So we've got Joel Hughes is back. Justin LaSala, and this is Justin's consecutive.
Oh gosh.
I mean, maybe
17, 18,
7
19,
or 8 times.
21, 22, 23, 24. 7 straight.
I mean, at least 7
for him.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm 6 straight. He was in a year before me. 17, the fact that he was there with just 10 of us last year as a 49-year-old, very impressive. Justin LaSala. I mean, he is tremendous. Jason Leaves, if that's how I say Jason's last name. Jamie McGarva. Dustin Beckwith. By the way, Dustin is a fellow Boulder athlete, so very excited for Dustin to round out the top 5. And in this mix, we also have Mr. Rick Stevenson, just to mention. Honorable mention is in the top 30, 18th place. Rick with just a great performance all around, very consistent, and a 5th in event number 3. What was it about event number 3 that gave you such, I want to say an advantage, but you clearly crushed that one? Is it because you're just so phenomenal at ring muscle ups? Was it the front squats? It was
the ring muscle ups. You got it.
Yeah.
Down to singles, but still the rings. Yeah, no, a lot of familiar names there. 2 out of 3 from the podium last year are back inside the mix here. I can just tell you that. Plus a number of consistent folks like, Bruce Thomas and Clint Paddock. I mean, those are names that are perennially there.
Coming back.
Yeah, it's going to be, our age group's going to be tough. There isn't an age group that isn't going to be, but it's
but these guys.
Yeah,
it's fun. Yeah. That's the age groups we know. We know these guys. We know them well. And it's going to be a good one.
50.
You 50, take it.
Yeah, 50-54 women. This is where Jason and I make the switch seamlessly. Nice segue.
So nice.
Oh, and of course you did that to me. Oh, please. Number 1, 50-54 women. I apologize. I have no idea how to even say that. Would somebody send a message on the comments phonetically how I am supposed to say her name? Congratulations with 28 points. Filaretti?
I think that's a great way. Filaretti X.
Yes.
We'll call her Filaretti X.
Sandaki. And friend of the show, Cheryl Brost, Jen Dieter, Lucianne Messias, and Pam. I'm not sure. I know the name. I'm not sure how to say it. Gagnon, I believe.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
That's the best I would do.
Yep. Definitely. And a lot of names on this leaderboard that we know. Again, some podium finishers from last year back, multiple games appearances up and down the list. Inside now, this starting at this age group, there's only 30. So
Yes.
They'll be looking, those names are sitting at 31, 32. They'll be looking to see if anybody does not accept an invitation. So fingers crossed for those ladies. So congratulations.
Men 55 to 59. We've got in first place Leonardo Wernersbach Lima.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that's a Brazilian flag. I'm not 100% sure.
Yes,
but
it is. Yes.
International.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice gentleman.
Albert Police, Guy Cravata, John Kim, Greg Gerdes. Greg Gerdes. Oh, I went with the G. He's got the soft with the grub like me, Gerdes.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know these names a little bit more. You're a little more familiar with these names than I am. I know John Kim, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, John and I battled at Wadapalooza, and then I think he aged up right after that. He's oh gosh, maybe he'll send us a message. He's the same age as Kevin Kester, so he's always, if Kevin's competing, there's some. They've had some battles, and in fact, they had a 1-2 battle last year at the games in Madison too. A lot of familiar names. Not too many. Also, a field of 30 here, I believe, for both men and women in 55 to 59. So a lot of familiar names. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of faces there as they compete.
Very cool.
I will go women 55 to 59. Joanne Cooper, Tia Vesser, Sherry Ann Benoit, Nera Cruz Prieto, I believe, and Rose Wall. 3 American flags there. I will tell you from personal experience, number 2 and number 3 were teammates, Sherry Ann and Tia, at Masters Fitness Championship 2 years ago. And there was not a team that smiled or laughed more pre, during, and post competition than those two. So I know they're going head to head this year there. But those two know how to smile and have a good time with the entire experience. So
they're going to have a good time.
See them back. Absolutely.
Rick, we're going to do a Boulder athlete recovery area at the games, and that's going to be really fun. It'd be fun to have them come there to be. I mean, they are. I've met them. Their personalities are just so big, and they have so much fun. You're like, okay, how do we get them in an area like that where they're literally bringing people in and dunking them in ice barrels and Normatec boots and stuff like that. We'll talk about more of that later, but that's fun. I think I don't remember if I told you we're doing that. But men age 60 to 64, top 5 All-Americans, which is just peculiar to all 5 Americans, and then we've got Canada and lots of other countries, but definitely a little bit more American centric here in the top 5.
Yes, absolutely.
Or even the whole group, but especially in the top 5. We got Joe Ames, Alan Duarte, if I say that correctly, Patrick McCarty, Rob Burnett, Shannon Aiken round out the top 5 there. And again, if we just take a look at Joe Ames. I was going to actually look at Shannon's 4th place. We could dig into these scores, but 4th place with a 321 on event number 4. A 321 was 4th place. So again, think about like these. Of course, they had an appropriate scaling for their age group, but such fast times on this benchmark of a workout like that. I really see it as a benchmark because we could all see it and experience and be like, okay, so how did they go that fast? Again, amazing movement by these guys.
This looks like this will be if Shannon accepts his invitation, this will be his 5th games appearance. And one thing, I know some of these names, but I don't know them that well. But what I've respected in any of the competitions we've been at is the older age groups. The level of camaraderie, I think, goes up as the age goes up, both on the men's and women's side. And I think that's fantastic to see. I don't know if it translates to people in the stands or clicks or views or whatever like that. These are men and women that are competing, but they're doing it in an environment. It's just they're having fun. They're working hard, but they're supporting each other 100% of the way. And it's really, I want to be there. I want to do that. I want to feel like that with them.
It's interesting that you say that. I clicked on Shannon's profile on it, which maybe you looked at, but if you look at his profile on CrossFit, and his cover photo is a whole group photo of athletes from one of the years. It must be maybe 2 or 3 years ago when Reebok was a sponsor. And you take a look at these guys that were, so these are the 60 plus. He might have been 55. Yeah, they were in the 55 to 59-year-old age group at the time. You want to see some fit men that are almost 60 years old? Just take a look at Shannon Aiken's CrossFit profile. It's a whole group. There's 10 guys there. And I mean, these are massive human beings. And so when I am in my late 50s, I'm 10 years from now, if I could look like these guys, I will be a very happy human being. I always think of like Kevin Kester. If I could be, I'm getting lots of gray. If my hair turns gray or white, if I can look like Kevin, at least somewhat, that would be like great. Kevin.
Yeah,
I know, he's just so badass. It's very hard to compete with a guy that looks like that. Looks so good.
Congratulations to these ladies in 60 to 64. Lori Machiznik, Linda Elston, Lynn Watt, and Betsy Vanderberg. Well, that's 4, excuse me, and Charisse Walmsley. And it is a pretty international leaderboard here of the top 5. Canada, Great Britain, Australia, and the United States. So a pretty diverse, and again, if we're saying something about these top 5 scores, that these are pretty fantastic across the board. There are not very many low finishes on any of these leaderboards. That's why they're sitting there. Captain Obvious here.
Fair enough.
Sorry.
And with the men 65 plus, we've got these are top 10 with American flags, but then digging a little bit deeper, again in a very international field, which is super cool. Tom Mulbeer is took first place with 20 points, so he was quite dominant. Dave Hippensteel, very familiar name, took second place. Tom DeWolf, Tom DeNolf took third place. Freddie Cherry took fourth. Matt Bell, 67 years old, took fourth place. Oh, and they had we had a tie for fourth place. That's what that is. Right. Yeah, I was looking at this, and if people see me squinting on YouTube, it is because I squint, because this is very small. But I did want to say that I was taking a look at these ages. In the top 5 here, we have 67, 68 for Dave Hippensteel, 65, 66, and 67, which is, again, just awesome. These are guys that are 20 years my elder. So David Hippensteel is 20 years older than I am. And pretty amazing to see what he's up to. Even if I took a look at 6th place, 68 years old. Sorry, I'm just clicking on all the names to try to find a 70-year-old in this mix.
Yeah.
I know. I just want to see the ages. Age 70, just to say it, in 10th place, will be competing at the CrossFit Games. 70-year-old Thomas Ackerman is 70. Wow. 170 pounds, probably a super fit human being. And it'd be really fun to meet him and all the athletes out there. And again, just taking a look at his profile picture, it just doesn't look like a 70-year-old guy. Yeah.
Hey,
he looks a little younger than that. So we need to check that birth certificate, Thomas Ackerman.
Exactly. And then rounding out women 65 plus, again, a little bit of a contrast from the men 65 plus. And again, you have a very diverse number of countries represented here on the ladies' side. Patricia McGill from Canada, Pauline Sakaya. I'm not gonna. Sorry, Dava Jensen, Diana Flynn, and Julie Holt. 3 countries that I see there in the top 5. So, and again, their ages a little more clustered, 65, 66 for the most part, right there. So for the ladies, I guess we could go through and pick out. They have a field of 20, I believe. Is that right? 60 to 64 and 65 plus. Men and women each have a field of 20. So
I mean, it's just going to be so fun to watch that out in Birmingham. So very cool. Congratulations to the athletes that will be receiving invites, and we'll just see how all that plays out as invites are accepted. Backfills happen. People that can travel. Traveling internationally to come to the CrossFit Games is a huge challenge. It's a huge expense. These guys are not even to travel around, every trip that I made to Madison was a very expensive trip. And I know, like, having talked to Kane Hayes, who has traveled from Australia a number of times, Kelly Friel overseas, Spencer Whitley overseas, just my friends. It is no small thing to travel overseas to do this competition. So it's an honor for every one of them. And the fact that they're going to come stay just down the street from me, because I'm here, is very exciting.
The epicenter of the age groups.
That's it. Right, come on down. It's going to be toasty, and we're going to have some fun. We're going to get a little sweaty down here, but there's good food and there's amazing people. The hospitality is absolutely amazing. So Birmingham, I think, will be a great place. I know the CrossFit gyms around here are very, very excited as well. The gym that I'm a part of will have open arms for all the athletes that need to train. Come on in and train with me while you're in town. I mean, Rick, you'll be here. Maybe we'll get a very mild training session the day before competition.
Correct.
But one thing we haven't done in a while, and we're going to wrap up our show with this, is our pick of the week. We've had guests. We've had so much. We are going to bring back pick of the week. If it's just us two, we're going to do a quick shout out to something that we found very beneficial or helpful. So I'll let you start.
Okay. All right. Very excited. Able to say I will be charging overnight and trying to size and fit the Kineon Move Plus. So if you remember our episode from last week, excited, box is right here if you're watching on YouTube. There we go. So I am taking the advice, listening to the science, reading the literature, and then listening to Jason say, hey, he thinks it works. So I will, how about give me a couple of more weeks and I'll give you a review. We'll do that.
I think that's great. I think
I'm
an
very
actual
excited.
review would be, a real review, a real experience. I mean, to be completely transparent, I have Kineon as a sponsor for me on my YouTube channel. Not here, but on my YouTube channel. So it just happened to be a situation where we could have Forrest on last week to talk about the science behind it, which was really interesting. But there is no skin in the game here. If it is a great experience for you, that's great. If not, okay. It was right then that I lost internet. I used Starlink, and Starlink had a major outage last night, which was crazy. The entire network was down for like 30 minutes. So thankfully, we were able to get through our entire podcast. We got through Rick's pick of the week. I'll share my pick of the week really quick. It's Wednesday morning. I'm doing this recording now. And my pick of the week is Element Sparkling Water. So they've got this, which is just a great idea. So obviously, Element is just, electrolytes. It's mostly salt. Some magnesium, it's potassium. Something that we need. We need way more salt than is generally recommended in our lives. And you just add it to water. And I have a soda stream. I make sparkling water every day. And I love, sparkling water with lemon. It's one of my favorite things. So the idea of just dumping an Element into a sparkling water never occurred to me until they released this sparkling water. And if you can't see this, if you're listening to the podcast, this is canned sparkling water with Element, a full Element dosage in there, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. That's a darn good idea, and it's delicious. I took one to the pool the other day, and it's exactly what you want when you're out in the sun. It's just super good. So I don't want to say this is an ad. I do advertise Element on my YouTube channel. They are a sponsor. But as far as our podcast goes, they're not. And it's just a great thing. So it is a pick of the week as we go into the summer. Like, this is pretty awesome. I don't think these are in stores. I think you got to order it online. But that's my pick of the week. And so at this point in the podcast, I would say, Rick, really great to see you. That was fun to do the podcast together. And he would say, likewise. And I'd say, Rick, I'll see you next week. And he would say, see you next week. And so that's how I'm going to wrap up the podcast today, guys. Thanks for watching or listening.
Thanks for tuning in to the Masters in Motion podcast. We'd be so grateful if you could take a moment to leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or your preferred podcast app. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us reach more listeners and grow our Masters community. Until next time, get bolder, not older.